We interrupt this test pattern to bring you a Big Footy Blues podcast. We apologise to test pattern viewers and will endeavour to return you to normal programming as soon as possible.
Big Footy Blues! Big Footy Blues! Big Footy Blues! Come the Big Footy Blues!
When egos broke up the band many, many years ago, many of us vowed that we would return when hell froze over. Well, the Western Bulldogs have won a premiership, and Donald Trump as the US President-elect, it seems hell has indeed frozen over. I'm ODN, and this is the Big Footy Blues podcast, post-season musings, drafts, and trading podcast. Joining me tonight, ShanDog.
We're going to make Carlton great again. We've got all the players, the best players. We know all the players. G'day, how you doing?
And we're going to build a wall to keep them in. And Ferrisb. How you going?
Hello. Good, thank you. It's good to be back, and it's nice to get back into the swing of things. It's only taken half a season, so let's kick it off, I think.
You never rush these things, you know. Anything worth doing is worth doing right. Look, just before we start talking about the ins and outs, which is why we're really here, 6 wins, 5 losses at the halfway point of the season. Some people were daring to dream. We finished with a 7-15 record, and we had some pretty embarrassing losses along the way. But do we see that as our ending to the season as being an issue, or was our job already done? We'd already exceeded expectations, and we sort of just switched off a little bit, preparing maybe for I'm certainly not suggesting tanking, but that we weren't too interested in playing all the senior guys for the rest of the season and getting wins. It was more about development.
Yeah, look, I think on the face of it, you'd say you're 6-5 halfway, and you start talking about the F word, and then you win one more game for the rest of the season.
And the F word really came out.
The F word, yeah. It sure is. It's slightly different F word. So look, from that perspective, the wins and losses the second half of the season was, for me, pretty disappointing. But there was enough in there, the few we pushed. I think it was Hawthorn, Sydney, and Geelong. I'm not sure the third one was.
West Coast.
West Coast. We showed a bit there. I think 7 wins at the beginning of the season. If you would have given it to most Carlton fans and anyone non-Carlton would have said that is more than a pass. So I think overall the season was better than my expectations from a wins perspective, from a team cohesion perspective. Some of the kids, Wiedering just blowing us away. So I think, look, for me it was a good year. Relatively speaking, it was a good year, and I'm not too worried about the second half, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it was more of it really did come across as like a two-sided sort of season for more than one reason. We had obviously the good first half, but that second half, I don't think we can shy away from that. It was really disappointing. You can't lose 9 games on the trot, was it? Or something like that? And not sort of go, okay, something's gone wrong here. But, of course, there was, like you said, Wiedering, the stuff we saw from Charlie Curnow, things like that were really great green shoots. And were genuinely pretty exciting. So, I think it comes down to definitely a pass mark for the season and a tick for Bolton in his first year. Excellent. Love what we saw. And it's to be expected, some poor performances, I guess, in the second half of the season. But definitely a lot to work with. So, yeah, good and bad.
We saw the debut of Jack Silvani. Funnily enough, I think he played 8 games, all in the second half of the season. He missed our 1 win, so he's still yet to stand in the winners' circle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What a stat.
He was out injured in the win we had over Melbourne.
Maybe
we had a 1. Might be. Maybe we'll never win another game with the Silvani in the number 1. But still, promising signs, and it probably things like that give you a lift and make you think about things. About the future more than the getting wins in the present. So
it was great to see young players like Curnow and Wiedering, but at the same time disappointing for Harry McKay. Although, I don't know, do you think he was ever actually going to play in his first year? Probably not. But
I
the injury
think
still wasn't great.
I think he might have played a few at the end. I don't think it was important one way or another. He might have played a couple, but it wasn't a big year for him either way.
No, I mean he had that pre-season game where he showed a little bit of mongrel, and he showed that he could already crash back. So I expected that he would have got a couple of games late.
I thought, Sauce or Sauce, whatever you want to call him, I thought we would not see him this year. I thought we wouldn't see him until late next year. Sitting there eating spinach and beef and in the weight room for 2 years. And, he surprised me getting a game earlier, legitimately after good form in the VFL. And it just shows, some of these kids, forget about, we blood them early when they're ready. It's just, I don't think it mattered what the strategy was. He just pushed his way into the team. So, they're ready when they're ready, I think.
Yeah, he was definitely physically underdeveloped, but I think what he proved was what a lot of people were saying in the preseason and stuff was that, geez, he looks like a smart footballer, like a guy who can play regardless of his size, he can contribute, and he definitely showed that, which is an awesome sign for an 18-year-old.
Sylvanis are made of elastic. They don't need to put on bulk.
So, I think overall some promising kids, enough wins. We said Bolton got a tick, and really some good signs from the club this year outside of just the team.
Absolutely. Really, that's the biggest thing.
I'm feeling prouder and more excited about being a Carlton supporter than I have in a long, long time.
I'll drink to that.
Sounds like you have drunk to that, Shan.
Other things happening around the club. Sam Doherty won his first John Nichols medal.
First of many.
Brilliant season, along with Cade Simpson and Paddy Cripps had another good one, and Bryce Gibbs had a good season. We expected all year. Yeah, there was talk that Sam Doherty was going to get an All-Australian Guernsey, and maybe Simpson as well, and everybody missed out. It was, I think one of them should have got in because they were brilliant, but used to that being Carlton supporters.
I don't know. If I think if he was on the fringe just the season just gone, I think there's a really good chance that at least one of those guys, if not then throw in a Wiedering or something like that, will be in the mix for this year. But how exciting is that? It's been a while since I felt like we've had anyone who's actually a decent shot at getting in the AA. Not that it means a lot, but still nice to say.
We've got some elite footballers coming through, that's for sure. One other thing that's happened around Carlton this year is we have a women's team. We're one of the successful team. Melbourne sides that got granted a licence for the women's competition upcoming, and we've had pick our marquee players and gone through the draft and got coaching panels going there, and Dennis Armfield's helping out with the skills and all that sort of stuff, and it seems to be a whole of
dangerous, isn't it?
Involvement. Sorry,
that's dangerous. Dennis.
Dangerous.
Couldn't have picked it. No, that's great.
Well,
I love Dennis for that.
At least you know that none of the players are going to copy him on the facial hair, so it's kind of like, well, you'd hope. But no, it's just you mentioned whole of club. I mean, I mentioned earlier as well that I'm really excited about some of the off-field. The women's team is an on-field, but for me, it's beyond just the men's team. And this was something I was contributing earlier in the year about the women's team. It was really exciting for me. It just showed that this is, for me, it feels a bit of like a new Carlton. I can't imagine Carlton of 20 years ago. Someone bring up women's team and there'd be all these Jack and his buddies sitting around getting drunk, just laughing about it. And I think this is engaging with the community. It'll hopefully bring us more supporters, more fans, and just. I just find it really exciting. So
I reckon for me, Stephen Trigg and Michael Giudice get a really big vote or seal of approval from me as well. I was a bit sort of iffy about both of their appointments, but optimistic as I usually am. And the things that have changed around in this club in the last couple of years are huge. And they've done a great job of it. I mean, you look at us, like, we're even starting to innovate a little bit now. I mean, the women's team, I guess you could call that a little bit of an innovation, but jumping on board that and putting such a great proposal forward to get in the inaugural season is fantastic for the club, as you just talked about. Then you've got things like getting a coach in who is a first-time senior coach, having the faith and trust in him, going through a good process and having the right people around to check that, and innovating, getting him a staff contract, for lack of better words. I'm not great with that sort of stuff, but rather than a fixed term one. Things like just look at how the rebuild has gone. We've got a new recruiting and drafting head, and I believe a number of recruiters as well. We've completely changed our list around in only a couple of years, even though there's more work to do. If anyone's sort of not sure whether or not this is the same old Carlton or whether it's a fresh new one, you'll have rocks in your head, because there's that much that's changed now in the last 3 to 4 years. It's huge.
It's funny, next year you're rattling off you're talking about Paddy Cripps and Sam Doherty and stuff, but at the same time, hopefully there'll be a whole new breed of supporter talking about Darcy Vesio and Bree Davies and stuff like that. So it just feels like it's not just the portion of the community in. Like, it just feels like the community is now larger and they're all in step with each other, and just the inclusiveness that we never had before. There's no boys club there anymore.
Well, actually, speaking of boys club, we've all got little girls, don't we? Us three.
Yeah, I've got a couple.
Who's gonna be the first to have one play for Carlton? I got 2033. I think mine's the earliest you can get drafted.
Given the fact that I'm the tallest in my household at 5'3" or 4.
Sorry, I didn't laugh at that.
Actually, yes, you did. Actually, with our current recruiting, which we'll talk about later, actually, I might have a chance. Yeah,
not bad actually.
Well, I could provide my own mosquito fleet, so we'll see how we go.
All right, we've had a lot of changes to our list, as we did last year, and have done for a little while, where we're really turning over the list. We've had 12 players leave the club, 12 players come in. Just before I go discussing who's left and who's coming in, one of our elites, one of our gun players, tried to leave in the off-season. Bryce Gibbs came as a bit of a surprise to many, given he was 2 years into a 5-year contract. But it hasn't happened. But how did you guys read that whole trade?
I was initially very excited by the prospect of him being traded, and I don't know. Some people, I think it divided people a lot. There were people who were 100% for it, 100% against it, which was funny. I was very for it. I thought that if we got a decent trade in there, then that was going to be a huge leg up on our recruiting and drafting and such, with the high picks that we get for him. And I was bitterly disappointed that the Crows didn't pony up with enough to satisfy our club to trade him across. And I know we asked a lot from him, for him, but I still think the Crows could have got a decent deal done, even if it was like a couple of picks in the teens or something, which are first rounders, but they're teens picks. They're not top 10 picks. You've got to pay a lot to get someone who's got a 3-year contract left to come over, and they pulled the piss. They pulled the piss on it. They made the grandstanding sort of statement that he's going to come home, announcement, and then failed to get the job done. And I think they walked away with a lot of egg on their face. I was disappointed it didn't get the trade didn't get through, but glad in one sense that we stuck to our guns as well, because that doesn't seem to happen too often, too much in the or lately in the AFL.
As we sit on the boards, Stephen Silvani's in the no blinking zone.
Yeah.
Does not blink.
After being accused of blinking about Yaron the year before, he's learned his lesson.
Let's just go through some of the outs. Off our senior list, we've had Andrew Walker and Michael Jamison have retired. We delisted Andres Everett, Jason Tutt, Dylan Biojo Rainbow, Mark Wiley, Jaden Foster, Matthew Dick, Clem Smith, and we traded Zach Tui. And off our rookie list, we lost Billy Gowers and Cameron Wood retired. You want to comment on any of those guys?
Yeah, for me, that whole list that you've gone through makes me sad and happy at the same time. It's a bit scary that we just got rid of 12 guys that I don't feel contributed much this year, that we had that many people on the list that, didn't have a lot of value.
Non-contributors, yeah.
Yeah, non-contributors. And I mean that with sort of, respect. I mean, some of the guys like Tut and Wiley, were really solid in VFL, but just probably weren't good enough for AFL. And I think it was fairly easy to cull 10 or 12 players this year, which I'm waiting for the year when we don't have that. The good news, I guess, is that we cut to 10 or 12, and I don't feel that's going to cost us next year. I mean, obviously Andrew Walker and Jamo have been really good servants over a long time, but they were sort of, injuries and they were sort of at the end, so to speak, and didn't do much this year. Zach Tui, I think, is probably the only big loss. There's arguably we can replace him, but certainly he's been very good for the last few years, and that is definitely a loss. And then outside of that, I mean, look, Clem Smith didn't
come on, did he?
Didn't really make it. DVR didn't make it at all. So from that perspective, I think there's not a lot of pain next year from what we did lose this year. So a big thanks to Walks and Jamo. And look, every one of those guys. I mean, even Cameron Wood, when we recruited, I thought it was absurd. And he went from his first training session of running laps and being huffing and puffing like a 80-year-old chain smoker to putting in last year. He was he was more than serviceable. So all of these.
Great. He was worth it alone for that game where he just lost his shit against Geelong.
And Selwood.
That was so good.
I think we'll all have a place in our hearts for him for that moment. But
I think it was called a rock bottom. If anybody watches WWE.
Yeah, that was great.
A big thanks to all those guys. But it's freed up a bunch of spaces for hopefully a bunch of exciting kids and some interesting trades and some exciting trades this year. And it's been set on the boards. Maybe we've got one more year like this, and then I hope from now on, at the end of every year, it's the hardest decision Sauce and Co have faced.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
I kind of I don't like seeing guys delisted without playing a game. I kind of just wish that Rainbow had actually got a game with us. I mean, if Clem Smith can get a handful of games without really showing anything in the VFL, then DVR probably could have it as well. Just have that one game on your resume. It's an important thing. But
actually, that's a good question though. If you were an AFL footballer who got cut after a couple of years, would you prefer to have the I played one game, or would you rather just say I didn't make it? I was on a list, didn't get a game. That's fine.
I'd take the one game. Yeah.
I watched some old timer from decades and decades ago. They took him out.
You're talking about live, aren't you?
Yeah, I watched Thylacine 60 get taken out to Princess Parkway. They took somebody out. It was a Carlton one gamer, and they took him out just to reflect on that one game and what it meant to him, and where he took a mark or where he actually kicked a goal in that one game or something like that. Right. It was just and that one game meant something because he was forever a Carlton player. So
true.
And look. I mean, we're supporters. We'd take the one game and we'd live off it forever, and we'd build it up, and it'd turn into 45 possessions and 6 goals. And I couldn't play on because I did my Achilles, and that was the end of it, or something like that. But not the 3 minutes that you spent on off the bench and got knocked out without touching the ball.
Yeah.
But so I feel for him for that, because I think at one stage he was an emergency.
I think maybe for at least a couple perhaps. So what was interesting actually this year is that I was surprised you've got a new coach in Bolts and you've got Sauce, fairly new, and I suspected that they would run through everyone just to give them a shot. I actually got the feeling, certainly by the end of the year, that Sauce and Bolts, I think, want good skills. I think sort of the someone, as an example, like a Jason Tutt, look, he has a crack. He's got, he can run, but his skills and decision making is just ultimately, I think you could say, even if he could justify giving him a few games, I think you'd say he's not going to be on the list in 5 years. And I think they've taken that kind of decision making on the list where they've just gone, look, you're probably not a long-term player, and we're actually not going to waste time. Because, someone like Tutt, when Murphy went down, you could have argued Tutt can come in and do a role for a few games. Same for Wiley. DVR, you could give him a go at halfback flank, and I think they just went, not good enough.
We've already made up our mind. You can tell all those guys that they delisted, and Jason Tutt was certainly burning it up in the VFL in the second half of the season. Still one of the best, and but all those guys did not get another game during that losing. Period.
They had
that once Everett was dropped, they decided, no, you're not coming back in either. We're going to stick to the guys who we want to go forward with. So it was pretty easy to see who was likely to get the cut.
Yeah.
Do you think I think some people out there would argue that we probably cut too many each year, and that's why one of the reasons that we're taking on a lot of fringe players from GWS and, what some people who are getting called salary cap dumps, players who probably aren't going to make it for us, but we're taking them as part of bigger picture stuff to get other players, and where they're just filling another list spot more than likely. Do you reckon that's the case, or?
I think it's more strategic than that. I don't think we're taking a salary dump just to fill a spot. I think we're doing it to be clever. That if we can get 3 good players cheaply by taking on a fourth, doing someone else a favour, I think we're doing that rather than going, let's keep 2 players and get 2 new ones. It's let's get as many young players in, and if we have to do, some kind of interesting deals to get that done, and I am all for that. I mean, I'm kind of always trying to look at the fringe. How do I make this work clever? At what kind of maybe not dodgy deals, but left field thinking. And so I reckon like the pick 28 trade last year was just amazing.
Well, we're taking on board a lot of players that have had a junior pedigree, so they've actually had a really good grounding coming into the system, and they weren't in the playing seniors for whatever reason. But I think the skill level, even taking on board those players or salary cap dumps, the skill level is incrementally improved from the players that we've just delisted. So. But the thing is, those guys come in, they might get 2 years, or we're seeing out their contract. But next year, if they haven't shown anything in those 2 years, they're the next lot to be cut. So you've always got to have some in reserve that you're going to cut, because you have to make a certain amount of changes to your list. So,
then we're fine. Then we'll be fine for a few more years in that case.
No, I don't think it's that bad.
No.
All right, let's go and discuss some of the ends. A little bit of housekeeping first. Kieran Byrne has been elevated from the rookie B list and is now on the senior list, even though he will not play for probably half a season at least with his ACL. But he had to come off that list, so. That's a good thing for us, because we don't want to lose them, because other teams would have been circling. And Kieran Sheehan has got a 4th rookie year, some sort of permission there from the AFL, I believe. He was on the Category A list, and he's gone back to the Category B list. So, and that's good that we can keep him, and hopefully, because Kieran Byrne's probably going to miss half the year, somebody like Kieran Sheehan could get elevated, and actually might be perfect to take that spot.
Very, very good of the club to show the faith in, or to reward the loyalty and effort of Sheehan hanging around because he's been constantly injured. And I think I posted this as well at one point. I was like, it must be such a massive, life-changing thing to come halfway across the world. It's the second time for him, I think, as well. Like, he had a second crack at it. Came over here, uprooted his life completely. Admittedly, while a young man, that's sort of a great time to do this sort of stuff. But to be so close and yet so far for so long, if we had to cut him, I would have been really disappointed in that decision. So I'm glad the AFL has sort of come to the table and let us hang on to him for another year.
Yep, agreed.
Let's go through our other pickups one by one. Just a bit of a word on each one, if we can. We traded for Caleb Marchbank.
A word.
You can say a few words.
No, this is an exciting pickup actually because it really helps with the flexibility of tall players to have to Marchbank and the other people that we're going to talk about shortly as well. I reckon great pickup.
Yeah, and this was, I guess, the main target in trade period for us. I think virtually every trade we did was based around what we were going to hand over to GWS for Marchbank and others. Not that the other ones were irrelevant, but I think Marchbank was the main game, and that's who we wanted. That's who we got. And Sauce likes his. I think the team is being remade in Sauce and Bolt's honour. Every player we've recruited in the last 2 years seems to be 194, 95 centimetre key position backman, or 175 centimetre small forward outside mid. So I think we've got a team of Sauces and Bolts, and Marchbank is another Sauce. So they're keeping score. They're just they've got their whiteboards and comparing, I think. So no, Marchbank, very talented. Obviously hasn't had a great run at it injury-wise, but assuming he's good to go, GWS were sad to lose him, and we're happy to get him.
Well, with Marchbank, Wiedering, Plowman, and of course Docky there, and the old campaigner. No disrespect, Kate Simpson.
Oh, that's harsh.
Only on BigFooty. That defence is really taking shape, and it's fairly exciting, isn't it? So,
very.
We also picked up. I'll just name the rest of the GWS guys. So Jared Pickett and Reece Palmer through for a bit of change, really. Jared Pickett, former pick 4 2 years ago. Everybody knows who Reece Palmer is. He's been around for a little while, about 27 years of age, and he's a solid sort of inside-out midfielder who can kick goals, so maybe we needed that. Skills are a little bit hit and miss sometimes, but he's certainly experienced hard body in there.
Yeah, it's a couple of interesting pickups, those ones. I can see the sense in getting Palmer, and I think ultimately it'll prove to be a wise choice because he'll be able to play for us for a couple of years and sort of really help that transition through of the younger midfielders that we've picked up, for example, in this year and in the next couple of years as well, as they sort of come through and eventually replace players like him. So not a bad pickup with that, and I wasn't particularly excited, but makes a bit of sense. And the Pickett one, it's a really interesting one to get Jared Pickett. Obviously, he's coming off a long-term injury, the foot injury, and there's question marks over his fitness and how well he's sort of, maintain, diet and exercise and all that sort of stuff, which, to be fair, like, it is a flag. It is a flag that you sort of go, oh, okay, how hard a trainer is this guy, sort of thing. And we've had so many issues with guys like that in the past with Menzel and Yaron even, things like that. Wait, yeah, these sort of, and I'll obviously allow him to the benefit of the doubt and time to prove otherwise. But it's a flag nonetheless, and I go, oh, gee, this guy's got apparently all the talent in the world as well. I really hope he makes it and he pushes really hard because he could be him and some of the other guys we've picked up could definitely be that X factor, that spark, that pace, good skills that we lack and that we desperately need. He could definitely be one of those guys. So, all in all, very interesting pick, and I really hope he becomes that for us.
He could become elite, couldn't he? So, for nothing at all, he's got those elite skills.
I think Palmer could be the best pick 135 to ever play. I mean,
I was
look,
hoping to use that pick, by the way.
look, obviously he's a little bit older, and sort of Shan covered off on that. But I think he's going to. I think he's going to play better footy in the next few years than most people are giving him credit for. So I think it's. Look, I'm hoping so. And one thing I did like is that obviously played mostly Neefel this year, and and understand that Neefel is well below AFL, but his numbers were just insane. And for me, that's not so much a sign of he's talented. But it was a sign that even, they sent him to the seconds and he didn't drop his head. He just smashed out. Like, he had games where he had 40 possessions and 4 goals or something. And you don't do that by just resting on your laurels. So I'm hoping, this is probably his last AFL line, and he's just going to give us his all, and we'll get some good value out of him.
Yeah. The other trade was involved in the Zach Tui trade. It was Billy Smets we picked up from Geelong. He hasn't had a lot of football for a few years. He had a lot of injuries. Showed a lot of signs. I think he was a first-round draft pick way back when, 5 years ago or so. And its highlights video looked very impressive. But I'm just not. I'm not sure about it. But coming from a long way back, since he hasn't really played quality football for a fair while. But we must
actually
have seen something in him.
Yeah, on this, I don't think we really gave much of a rap to Tui discussing the outs. That's to just step back a little bit. That's a big loss. I'm a big fan of Tui and wish him all the best at Geelong. But that's. I know we're looking like we're going to have a really good defence and everything, but I'm going to be so sad when I see him pull on a Geelong jumper and play for them. I don't know about you guys, but that's a knife in the gut. That one, not real happy about.
And I agree. I mean, I think it was covered on the board, but I got the feeling he was semi-pushed out as well, which makes me a bit more sad about it. And then on top of all that, I don't think we got great value for him. So in terms of the trade, I think we probably did the best in the circumstances. I think might have been EP, Eric Pascoe, or someone else suggested that if we'd done any better, it might have impacted our GWS trade and all sorts of things. But that whole thing left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. So I'm going to miss him. But again, it's not going to pull apart the club in the same way as if we lost. Sammy Doc on the other halfback flank is a bit different.
Yeah. Exactly. Zach's rising. I think he's 27 or something like that. And,
so it was an understandable decision if they did push him out or sort of put the pressure on him by lowballing him with the contract. Completely understand that by the club, but we had
we had no trade currency.
Yeah, well,
we used up all our trade currency last year when. Henderson and Yarra and everybody left, and we had nobody that we could really afford to trade out. And I guess if you're going to trade somebody out, then a halfback flanker is probably with a little bit of value.
We do have some good young halfback flankers coming in too. So he really was the obvious choice, I guess, if you're trying to trade into some more draft picks and everything. The really unfortunate thing was that Geelong, after spending all of these picks, didn't have all that much to give us in the end. And so, obviously, now we're talking about Smets. I wish him well and all the best. I can't really see where he fits into the team as yet. I haven't seen a great deal of him, though. But I think something that was interesting was that we had some Geelong posters coming in and really saying that Smets is, again, sort of similar to Pickett, but he's a very, very talented guy and has just had a bit of an unlucky run with injuries. And if we play him where he should be played, we could get a lot of, we'd be really happy with the trade. So that's a positive.
I did note most of the Geelong posters that came on, which are quite respectful. They did all unanimous to say, do not let him anywhere near the back line.
Yeah.
I think we're right.
Bolt, if you're listening, the Geelong posters on Big Footy say play him at half forward.
Okay, to the national draft, and with our eventually.
You mean the Carlton's grand final?
Carlton's grand final. Look, it was a
official term. Yeah,
it was the grand final on the Big Footy Blues board for a long, long time. I think probably halfway through the season we were looking towards the draft. Well, probably all year we're looking towards the draft, really.
This is what we train for on BigFooty.
This is what we train for. Exactly right. All our warm-ups with about 5,000 fandom drafts and list management threads and everything going. That was more discussion around that mark than the actual football, that's for sure. So we had pick 5 in the national draft, and we made a bid for a Setterfield, the GWS player, and that was Matt. So that became pick 6 for us. And with pick 6, we took Sam Petreski-Seaton from WA via Halls Creek. He's sort of an infectious character, isn't he? He's an inside-out midfielder with exquisite skills. Kicks off both sides of his feet, as he says, but so he kicks with both feet.
I never noticed that, but
yeah, I've been noticing that every interview he kicks off both sides of his feet. So maybe he's talking Stevie J style. I don't know. He might be.
No, he's got really skinny feet, and so it's off both sides.
Like ice skate players, yeah.
But gee, he's an infectious character, isn't he? He's a very likeable guy. Shit haircut, very likeable guy though. I can't wait to see.
What about the rat's tail?
Oh, the fuck off tail! What the shit?
Oh, I tell you what, if I could still grow hair, I would be growing a Petreski-Seaton rat's tail right now. Not really.
I've got a rat's tail. It's not on my head, but anyway. Yeah, look, Petreski-Seaton was rated as the number 1 draft pick 12 months ago and more. All during 2015 in his underage year, he was going to be the number 1, the standout. And obviously, a few have come up this year, and he's been overtaken by a few. He had some injuries, but which certainly impeded his form. And people got this little perception that he doesn't get a lot of the ball, like sort of a Cyril Rioli type and stuff like that, which I don't agree with. He certainly goes inside a lot. He gets a lot of clearances. He gets a lot of tackles, and he's still averaging about 20 disposals. That's not Rioli territory at all. So you just go if he's fit, and I think it's might have been a couple of soft tissue injuries he had this year, but if he's fit, I don't see any reason why he doesn't go back to being potentially the best player in their draft.
Are you saying we can't believe he was available at our pick?
Well, we had number 1 on our list the whole time.
Yes. Look, I'm very excited about this pick. You mentioned. Like you said, inside, outside. I mean, you look at him, and I will say it, that there is a stereotype that the Aboriginal players are. I don't want to start this whole thing, but they tend to be very exquisite skills, and have pace. And some of them are suited to being, like a winger, like a Brad Hill, Peter Matera type of just that really silky player. But SPS he's hard at it. I mean, he's not that big, but he crashes, he tackles, and he about it. Quite a lot of the recruiters have said that. He tackles as hard as anybody in there. He gets his own ball. He is an inside-outside midfielder. So he gets the ball on inside-outside, left, right, foot, both sides of his feet. He's an all-round player.
4 at once.
So I'm very excited about it.
See some acrobatics out there.
Exactly. Look, someone that can get like you said, get the clearances, but then also have the pace and the skills. I think is very exciting. Like you said, he's very infectious. I've just loved his interviews. He just seems, he's so excited about playing footy and making it to AFL. And there was talk about another whole big thing about flight risk, etc. But yes, I'm probably just parroting what he said in interviews, but he made it from Halls Creek, a tiny remote town, to Perth for a few years, and now to the big smoke, so to speak. And it just seems, it's also just, to me, it's a great journey, a great story. Bolts in my head. But a great journey, a great story, and I can't wait for him to make the team. And and become a Carlton champion.
Yeah, I think he's got star and fan favourite written all over him. I cannot wait to see this guy play. I think it's going to be really exciting when he pulls the jumper on.
Well, the word silk is used a lot, and a lot of sort of phantom drafters have made maybe a slightly more inside Sean Burgoyne sort of comparison, because he can play forward and he can go back as well. So he's very, very versatile in that way, but it's just those exquisite silky skills that sort of remind you of the time and space and the poise and evasion skills of a Burgoyne type. So our second draft pick ended up being number 27, and it is Zach Fisher. Who's
that cute little boy?
I'm going to call him Zach Ferris.
Are you kidding? He's 175 centimetres or something. He'd tower over me. I don't know why everyone's calling him a small midfielder, but anyway.
He has no problem growing hair. He's got a fair bit of it. Yeah, he's an inside mid, and people sort of looking, another midget, that sort of stuff. And I've seen a little bit of criticism, but just the explosive pace he has, and the summing up of play, and the way he comes out and meets the ball and dishes it off lightning fast. He's quite an exciting prospect, and he racks up big numbers.
Yeah.
And I guess I've come around to go. I sit there and I watch some of the little guys go around, and you sort of see what Caleb Daniels has done at the Western Bulldogs and stuff like that. You go, you know what? We used to have these players once upon a time back in the Mosquito Fleet days, and it's sort of, I think we just got a little bit carried away with everybody being an athlete and being tall, rather than just being natural footballers who can get the ball. If you're a little bit shorter, well, what's the worst that can happen? They're tough as nails. They're going to get a lot of head-high free kicks, I assume.
Watching his highlights, and I've only seen YouTube highlights. This is YouTube recruiting right now, but
is there any other kind?
No, that's right. It never fails, YouTube. He seems to me like he's got that intent and the endeavour to win the hard ball and play tough football for a guy his size. That's particularly impressive. But yeah, I'm not interested at all in what it says in the height column next to him. It's all about the ability and the intent, and he seems to have both of those. One thing that stood out to me watching the highlights was how quick he was to dispose of the footy, both hand and foot. He gets the ball down to his foot so quickly.
But it's not very far to go, admittedly.
That's also true. But he's so quick to dispose of the footy, and works so hard to win it as well. And his disposal is very good. That I think he's got. If he can continue to work on his deficiencies, build on his strengths, become a bit bigger, faster, all those sort of things, he's got all of the skills you need to be a more than just a contributor midfielder, to be a really, really good player. And I can't wait to see how he goes.
I agree. And another vote here for the footballer over athlete. If you can get the ball and you can make good decisions and execute reasonably well, that's it for me. Don't care as much about pace, how high you can jump and how tall you are. It's just getting the footy and doing something smart with it. And I think he can do that. And he can do it quite quick, and he's got pace as well. So I think hopefully he makes it.
Next at pick 47 in the draft, we placed a bid on Harrison McCready, who was a GWS Academy player. And he was highly rated in 2015. He was top 10 rated, even in the top couple in a few early drafts. And he disappeared off the radar, didn't have much of a year. GWS had moved him up to Sydney, and he was in a boarding school or something like that, and
didn't like
playing NEFL, I think. And he was expected to go high, so bidding at him 47, GWS actually had the points to match that, and they chose not to. So my understanding is that we were a little bit surprised, So I don't know whether we just keep them honest or we actually wanted him, but we do have another key defender. He's about, what is he, about 196 centimetres, something like that.
Can play as a forward too, apparently.
Yeah, I think he's done a little bit, but he's known as a defender. So we're certainly racking up some tools with a decent pedigree, and he's a Carlton supporter. He was wrapped.
How good's that?
Yeah, good
so
on
good
him.
to see.
I think the reason GWS didn't match is they thought there's no point them taking them and then just trading them back to Carlton in 2 years' time. They just thought, just take him now and save everyone the trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, but they could get 135 off us again.
They might.
Yeah, look, a gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah, look, another one in the sauce column for me. Highly rated, key position, probably mostly backman. But I don't know whether to talk about this now, but between we went from having virtually no young key position players 13 months ago to having question going, we might send some of these backmen forward, and it's very interesting. Up forward, you've got Harry Mack as the big one, and Charlie, Kerno and Sauce as mid tall sort of forwards, and then down back between Wiedering, Marchbank, McCready, Plowman as maybe an in-betweener. Some it's still, a lot of that is still unproven, but at least we've got some potential, some good young stock there, and it's now going, we might actually have one too many, which was inconceivable a year ago.
Sorry,
ShanDog, don't let him forget the experienced key back we've got back there. Don't let him.
Rowie!
No, just cast
I'm going to jump in and do it for him. Didn't sound like Cam was going to do it.
Well, I like the fact that Ferris used the word stock there, because we've now got more genuine, tall, key tall players than we have positions for, and all of them are rated quite highly, and a lot of them are still very, very young. I think it's going to become a case where in the next couple of years we'll be cashing in on those players who can't get a game in the seniors because we've got too many good players. Hopefully this is the case. Too many good players in the forward line, in the back line, and we're going to end up taking these guys, like, for example, the McCready that we got for pick 40 something or whatever it was, and trading them up, and we're going to get a first round or early second round pick for them.
Also, what they can do for the Northern Blues, so you're getting these genuine guys growing that team, and it's going to be good for the development of across the board, all the way up the field. Yeah. So once that side, because that's probably been our biggest issue, where the Northern Blues just don't fire, they don't develop in there, and the guys, a lot of players have sort of got to make it into the seniors to actually show their stuff. So. You change all that, and suddenly all those talls playing back in the VFL, which is of a higher standard than the NEFL, of course, is they're gonna be worth something.
We got a VFL flag.
I think. Look, I'm very sceptical of draftees. I think particularly past, let's just say, the top 10 or top 20. I think it's pretty speculative. I don't care how highly rated McCready was coming into the year. I've seen his highlights. He looks really talented, but for me, there's still, it's probably more likely he doesn't make it than he does, and it's not him specifically, but just anyone, second, third round onwards. So if you want 3 tall backs, I want 5 or 6 on the list, because I think you'll only end up with 3 or 4 making it, and then you've got injuries and all sorts of things. And what Shan talked about before, the best problem to have if you recruit too many and they all make it, then great. I doubt we get to that stage, but if that's our problem, then I will be doing cartwheels. So, and if we don't, we're covered, sort of thing.
Yeah, you're right.
Our next pick was pick 59, and it was a little bit of left field, this one. Cameron Paulson. He's a small,
ridiculously good-looking man.
I was glad you said it, because I was going to say it, and I thought I didn't know whether I should or not. he is going to be a crowd favourite, that one.
But actually, on that, sorry to interrupt during your intro to him. While we've been talking, I've brought up the Carlton webpage and I opened up in a few different tabs on my internet browser all the new players: Williamson, Fisher, and Paulson. They're all these three tabs right next to each other on my screen. Williamson, then Fisher, then Paulson. I'll invite anyone who's listening to this afterwards, if you're at a computer, pause the podcast, open up those three players in tabs next to each other, and then click through the tabs. I had to hold in a massive laugh. I actually had to mute my mic. The three guys, their heads have all been photoshopped onto the same fucking body. It's hilarious. Your cycles film, it's the same body and their different heads pop up. It's like something out of South Park. It's brilliant. But anyway, it's such a terrible job. But carry on, sorry.
So, by the way, I hope you're not insulting Carlton's graphic designer, because I believe that's our graphic designer and one of our marquee female signings as well.
That's Darcy Vesio is our graphic designer, isn't she?
I'll edit that out in post. Okay, let's go.
No, leave it even. We'll invite her on the podcast to take you to task.
I think that's what she said about the screenshots of the three players. I'll edit that in post and just forgot about it.
It's just quite funny.
Back to Cameron Paulson.
Back to Cameron.
Sorry, go.
Cameron Dreamboat Paulson.
I can't believe we'd recruit a guy who was out with a shoulder injury for half the year and pick him up in the 50s. It just, it's very strange, you know.
Shout out to the coach for his inside info on this too.
Yeah. A bit of inside info on when we did that last year as well, on some kid in the 50s with a shoulder injury.
No, it sort of smacked of a little bit of a Cunningham style picking. Though Cunningham went a lot higher. Just sort of getting them out of mostly because of what they've done in school football. He did have, I think, 4 games in the PAC Cup before he did the shoulder. But his highlights tape is brilliant. And I tell you what,
the pace,
the tape of his name being read out at the draft that it was taped inside the family home was. It's a tearjerker, isn't it?
Yeah, but shut that dog up, for Christ's sake. Like, teach it some discipline. But otherwise, that was brilliant. Absolutely love it. Did he actually... I never actually confirmed this, though. Was Paulson... Was he a Carlton supporter or not?
I don't know who he supported. No,
I don't know, sure. But how ecstatic the whole family was, though, when he got drafted was just phenomenal. I love seeing that.
Oh, did you see Did you see all the draftee interviews?
Yeah, I did.
He was by far he's another Sam Doherty. You know, he speaks so well for an 18-year-old, doesn't he?
Absolutely. Yeah, and was he the one who was paired with McCready, who is the exact opposite?
Who was it?
I was going to be more diplomatic and say there was a bit of a Look, I won't say that McCready didn't speak fantastically well, but. I don't
Whatever
know
language he was speaking, maybe he spoke it quite well. I don't know.
No, look, Cameron Paulson, very, very well spoken, and I think Kerr as well spoke very well, and SPS in his own style was I think quite infectious, exactly.
Yeah, Harrison McCready, if you're watching this, we love the fact that you got drafted. You're excited. You got drafted to
absolutely
to the team you supported as a kid, and we certainly understand that it's hard being thrust in front of a microphone, and life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Just like this podcast.
Exactly.
Except all three of us are like the Turkish delight that just gets left at the end that nobody
wants. Moving on to pick 61. That was Tom Williamson, formerly a supporter of the Dirty Magpies. He's now in the Carlton colours and seems to be relieved that he's seen the error of his ways. But he's a bottom major. So he's only just made the draft. He seems like a solid unit, about 190 centimetres, something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Seems to have a bit of size to him as well. And a bit of a power runner. He just likes to burst through packs, doesn't he? So
Common theme with all of the picks, but yeah, he at his size, it was quite impressive. He's still a light fellow, obviously, compared to normal AFL playing sort of weight. But I look forward to seeing him perhaps do that, and touted as a midfielder as well, despite him being a sort of a flanker mostly. Apparently, genuinely can play in the midfield as well, which I think is the same for a couple of the draftees. Very exciting stuff.
He tested extremely well at the combine, agility and endurance. I think and he looks pretty quick. I don't know what his sprint times were, but
really good. Certainly, I think it was top 10 and 20 in all of it.
Certainly, some pace good.
Yeah, I like having a little, and players like that will get a good, 3 years on the list to show their stuff, and that's good. So
yeah. Oh, sorry. Actually, just reading in his bio here. Finished first in the agility test, second in the 3 kilometre time trial, and top 10 in another 5 tests, including the beep test. So tested extremely well.
Yeah, a bit of a show off.
I think Mebby came first in the beep test.
Different test.
Anyway.
Different.
Not sure of the results, but anyway,
that's the
closely
bleep
followed
test.
by Peter Dean. And our last selection in the national draft, such a fairy tale. We thought people were talking about whether we do this with our second pick, and he's lasted all the way to our 6th pick. Patrick Kerr has finally realised his dream, and we're playing for the Carlton Football Club, and of course he's the grandson of the late great Laurie Kerr, and just another nice story. Our Silvani story is ongoing, and it's good to see. And I believe Caleb Marchbank also has his somewhere in his family, like a great uncle or something like that.
Yeah.
Jim Marchbank used to play for Carlton. So it's good to see these sort of family connections being made. And he's a tall forward. So what is he? I think he's up to about 194 centimetres.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Highly rated in the. Highly rated during the TAC, the under-18 championships. He performed quite well, and he's a bit of a straight leader and a strong mark and reasonable kick. I guess the knock on him falling down the order is more to do with perceived lack of agility.
Yep.
So we'll see. And that also happened to others like what's his name, Josh Battle, was it? He fell down under similar circumstances after being highly touted. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes. But as our midfield develops, maybe he won't be hung out to dry because he'll start getting some decent deliveries. So we can only hope. But let's hope he makes it, because that's a good story.
Yeah, and let's face it, I mean, sometimes key forwards don't have fantastic agility. When was the last time you watched Josh Kennedy kick a bag of 10 and go, oh, but only if his agility was a little greater, he could be a player. I think Kerr has shown that he's got all the basic skills and ability to be a good shot at making an AFL level. So he was I'm reading as well, former vice-captain of the Oakley Chargers. So leadership apparently is very, very good. So great, yeah. Another really good pickup by the club, the family connection and the fact that can actually play and he's a good forward as a under-18s player. Excellent stuff.
Absolutely. Then we moved on to our rookie draft. We did a couple of interesting things there. I'll just mention that we had previously delisted Andrew Gallucci, and we've re-rookied him. Apparently,
the Gooch.
Yeah, he had a lot of bad luck last year. He was injured very, very early. He didn't get a chance to show anything, and he turned up to training when all the first, second year players had to go back. He turned up in ripping condition apparently, and Silvani wanted to reward the hard work that he had put in. So that's really good to hear.
Yeah, right. I hadn't heard that.
Well, I think I know Shan loves his Schrodinger's cat, and I just feel that Andrew Gallucci was kind of in a box last year, and he didn't do anything. Didn't see him do anything right, but we didn't see him do anything wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
we kind of don't know. It was an interesting one that he kind of didn't have the chance to prove himself, but like you said, he came back a good nick. We know he's good around goal, and
the people loved him at that NAB game that he played too.
Yeah, because he was a real. Well, forgive me. He was a real prick. He was a real. He was a real Valentine, wasn't he? He was getting in their faces and roughing them up. He gave away a few free kicks. I like to see a little mongrel, a little terrier.
Yeah. I hope get the game.
It's certainly, I think for a rookie pick, you've got you look for players that have, all those players are going to be imperfect footballers. You don't pick up a well-rounded footballer in the rookie draft. So you need one or two elite characteristics. This guy's got speed, he's got good goal mouse, but he may not be able to run through the midfield. Like your classic, maybe looking back in the day, like an Eddie Betts type. That might have been overlooked. Oh, he's a specialist small forward that doesn't have a tank. Well, yeah, who gives a stuff? He can kick goals and he's quick and he can pick up the ball from in the middle of a pack.
And leave your club as a free agent. And
Yes, he does all sorts of things you never knew he could do. So no, I think some of these guys, and like the next guy we'll probably talk about, Le Boss. The boss.
Well, let's talk about our first rookie pick, rookie draft pick number 5, Kim. Well, so this is. I've heard it pronounced Le Boss, which I want to call him. I really hope that's right because Le Boss would be Le Great. But if it's Le Boys, I'm a bit worried about that one.
I'm pretty sure it's Le Bois.
Le Bois.
I'm pretty sure.
That's what I would go with, but
Le Bois. Yeah. So anyway, Kim Le Bois. Look, I saw a couple of sort of renowned Phantom drafters actually having him going to us in the national draft, probably 4th, 5th pick, something like that. And I thought, well, I'll be happy with that. And to make it all the way to the rookie draft, I'm even happier. Again, another small forward. He hasn't really gone through the midfield, but he's got a bag of tricks and he's quick. And the fact that we can throw it, we've got our Galucci's and our Lebois and our Pickett and Sumner and
Lamb.
People like
we have a few, don't we?
Who have I missed? Is there somebody else that
Paulson as well.
Paulson, yes. Yeah. So Paulson. The fact that those guys can go through play as small forwards, it just sort of that's what we've been missing. Our forward line's been so static. We had nobody there that can really just lightning quick latch upon, be front and centre and snap a quick goal. We've really been missing that since we lost Betts and Garlett and obviously Yaron when he used to play down there. It's probably at the right stage to start picking up those guys, just so the midfielders can be rewarded for their work getting it in there, and so the forwards don't get left looking like statues as the balls run away from them all the time. So it's about forward pressure, and we identified how slow we've been. Certainly the 2 games we played against St Kilda this year really, really highlighted that we were treacle slow in comparison to the way they moved the ball and some of the foot speed they had. That they're the 2 games that really stood out, and the fact that we brought in. We were lacking in speed and we were lacking in scoreboard impact. And
well, that's the thing. If you're not fast, you have to be really good with your skills, and we were neither. Neither. Lebois, whatever.
Lebois.
You say Lebois, I say Lebois. Lebois, exactly.
Let's call the whole thing off. That's a pretty astute pickup, and it's just maybe we've got too many of those types now. I don't know, but we're certainly going to see a little bit of excitement. I think it's going to be a good journey.
I think other than that, we mentioned Sheehan coming back in the rookie.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
and we've also got our second pick in the draft was another Silvani, that of 29-year-old 53 gamer Alex Silvani, the second cousin of our list manager. He's plays as well. He's really a third defensive tall, but he does play tall on occasion. I guess the big knock, this one, isn't it? He's got a good attitude out on the field. He certainly gives it his all, and he's quite capable of beating some big names. He just hasn't exactly been durable, and he's hasn't for the time he's been around, hasn't been given a lot of game time. So the club said that they just wanted to. We've got a lot of developing key defenders, and we just want to bring in some support in case somebody goes down. Like if you lose we've obviously Jamo retired. If you lose, say, Sammy Rowe to injury, or we want to use...
No, don't say that.
Oh, no. So that's what Alex Savoni's there, just to if you probably don't want Wearing and Marchbank to be your key defensive talls.
Well, even in Sauce's rap, he said he's hoping Alex can come in and play some good footy in the AFL and VFL. I mean, he was pretty open about it. So anyone up in arms about it, I think if you're going to recruit a player really to play for your VFL, I'd really like for the Northern Blues to actually recruit them.
That would be.
But I think he is good enough to still be playing AFL. Give us a few years of backup and development for a second round rookie pick. I think it's fine.
Yeah, that's my thoughts as well. If he does nothing but play VFL football and lead the back line down there, which will be bereft of anyone, unless like a Simon White isn't playing and he's down there. There's no one else of real great experience down there that I can think of off the top of my head. If his job is to lead that and just act as a backup in case we have a couple of key defenders fall down, then that will be a pick well spent.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So that leaves us with a senior list of 44 Category A rookies and 2 Category B rookies. So there's no nominated rookies because we've got a full senior list, but we do have Kieran Byrne, who probably will have enough time left to get over his injury, unless he makes a remarkable recovery, to be able to promote a rookie.
We'd do that immediately, wouldn't we?
Yeah. Sorry?
We'd do it immediately. He'd be because he's on the senior list now. We put him straight on the LTI, and we can promote a rookie.
I think so. And it's just a matter. I would have thought there's a few options there. I can see people think LeBois is going to get Lebois is going to get whatever his name is.
Let's just so much fun with this.
Yeah, Pepe Le Pew might get some games, but I'm hoping that Kieran Sheehan is our number one choice. Yeah.
I think that's pretty. That'd be pretty sensible. The club's has not been proactive about promoting rookies when we've had LTIs. I think they've seen it as we've got a spare spot. Let's wait and see who we need and when we need it, rather than here's an opportunity to get a rookie list player playing some AFL football. It's a break in case of emergency, but I think Sheehan would be an obvious one if he's fit.
Yeah. Well, if we got a ruckman injury, I could see them leaving it open for maybe somebody like Korchak to come in. It's way too early for him, regardless. So we would probably play Rowe, Casbolt, Gorringe, any of those in the ruck.
Gorringe, we would play any. We'd probably play Lebois, I think, before we play Korchak in the ruck.
I really want to see him. I really want to see Korchak play. I just want to see if he gets done for travelling or something, because it would be priceless. But he's a big boy, and it'd be nice to see. A big solid boy too, So, looking towards, now that our list is finalised, looking towards our 2017 season. How do you think we go? How does it look? Is it people? It's been a bit of a school of thought that we're going to take a backward step because we're going to be playing more younger guys. It looks to me that our ins are far better than our outs.
Mm.
And I'm expecting that our game plan is going to come along a lot better.
Yeah, I think we'll be somewhere around the same mark. And even I don't think we will. I think there's a much greater chance that we improve in terms of wins and ladder position on last year than if we were to actually fall away and drop down the ladder. But even if we do, even if that's the case where we only pick up 5 or 6 wins in 2017, I think the club is going to be in a better position than it was at the end of this year regarding the list, off-field, everything about it is going to be better. We're going to have more games, more development into these young players. We're going to be ready to take another group of draftees and whatnot. I'm fully confident in what the club is doing at the moment, and so I declare right now that there is no possible way we go backwards in 2017 if you're not taking the one and only measurement being where we are on the ladder.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, a step back doesn't necessarily mean on the ladder does not necessarily mean that you've regressed as a football team. And
that's right.
Your playing style.
We will improve. Yeah.
We are getting pretty good the last few years. We're well versed in that it's not about the wins and losses.
Yeah, maybe that's how I've been brainwashed.
But I think I mean I feel pretty much the same.
Stockholm syndrome, I believe.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we'll win too many more than 7. I think ballpark maybe 6 to 8 is probably about right. I don't care where we finish on the ladder as long as along the same lines of what we did this year. When we're losing, we don't blow out. We're competitive. We push the good teams. We don't lose to the bottom of the ladder teams when we shouldn't. And we have a game plan. We blood a few more youngsters. I think the ins are probably, at this stage, look more valuable than the outs. Not necessarily so much for next year, though. I think a few years from now, the ins hopefully will be making a big impact. So I don't think we move. Maybe we don't go backwards. I don't see us moving wins and losses ladder too much forward. But it's part of the bigger picture that you can tell the teaching, the development. We started from scratch last year, and I think it's just building on that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'm going to put it out there right now. Whatever happens, I believe, and in my heart of hearts, that we're going to finish above Richmond in 2017. So you can put your take that to the bank, as someone recently posting during the trade period would have said.
Well, good call. Oh, I'll take it, and because I don't want it to go anywhere else. I was going to. No, I won't talk about any of the posters on BigFooty. You know who you are. We've got about 5 people who requested that we do this podcast now. So we want to see that you've all you've listened to it and you're commenting on it and giving us really good feedback and about what legends we all are. Thank you very much.
If you listened all the way through, type Purple Monkey Dishwasher and post it in the thread, and we'll know. Yeah,
Purple Monkey Dishwasher. If you don't do it,
then we know you're just a part-time listener, and
dirty, rotten liars.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, guys, for coming in. Thank you very much, ShanDog.
Thank you, guys. It was great to do this again.
And thank you, Ferrisb.
He's asleep.
Bueller.
True to form.
My feed is just cut out, so it's good night from me and it's good night from them.
All right, and I don't know when we'll be back, but it'll be sometime in the new year with any luck. Don't believe me. Night all. Go the Blues.
Go Blues.
Come Blues.